Hey guys, welcome to day 2 of the Inspire Conference. I'm your host, Natasha, and I'm so excited because we've been seeking the face of God this entire weekend, but today, right now, it's about to get crazier because I'm here for the Pink Table Talk, and I'm not alone. I'm here with some special guests. I've got my mom over here, Pastor Regina Darte. Welcome. If you're in your house, wherever, just clap for her. We're so excited to have you here. And we also have Pastor Sophia from Transforming Life Center. And guys, I'm just the luckiest person in the world because I get to be seated beside the both of you, and I'm ready to pull on some knowledge. And I hope you guys are too. So wherever you are, grab a notebook. If you have your MacBook, your pen, whatever it is, grab something and make sure to write things down because this conversation is going to be amazing. So we're going to be talking about life, loss, and love. And got a couple questions that I want to throw around and we'll take it from there. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
So the first question is, what is something that you've always wanted to do but never got the chance to do yet?
What is one thing that I've always wanted to do but I've not been able to get to it yet? I say yet because it's never too late. I've always wanted to have a school and write books. I haven't been able to do it yet because my boys, or the men, now they say they are men, my young men, they are no longer children. So now I have a bit of time on my hands to do what I really been wanting to do all along. So that's what I really want to do.
That's amazing. I'm looking forward to those books. I will be the first to buy them.
I'll be second. I'll be in line second.
And what would you like? What is something that you've always wanted to do?
Oh, Mom was so deep. I want to skydive. I've always
I
wanted to
was
go
gonna
skydiving.
say the same thing. I've always wanted to, but like Mom said, it is never too late.
I mean, it's different now, though. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. If something happens to me, other people are counting on me. So I don't know if I can still go skydiving, but I've always wanted to go skydiving. It's always been something like floating in the clouds, free falling. I don't know. It sounds like it would be exciting. No.
Not for me. No.
Now, moving on to our second question. What is any time in your life where you're going through a hard season, and how were you able to keep pushing? Like what is it that helped you to just keep going forward?
A hard season, I guess one thing that comes to mind, would be my first year of marriage. That was a tough one for me. I mean, I've been through some difficult times, but marriage is something different. And I guess for me, I have to say, it might sound cliche, but the honest truth is it really was my faith that kept me going. I really believed that God had put us together, that this marriage was ordained by God, and that was the only thing that was keeping me going. I was like, if God brought me and this man together, then there has to be a reason. There has to be a purpose. So I just held on that. And every night that I had where I was wondering and questioning, those, I used to take showers. That's where I would cry in the shower, the tears and the water, it all blends together, But that was my one thing, was I was like, okay, I believe that there is a God. He put me in this situation. If he did, he will carry me through. And, the Bible says that, a wife is a good thing. Marriage is supposed to bring happiness. So I was like, this will be my testimony. I will have a testimony. And I'm happy to say that I do. I have a testimony. I just celebrated 10 years of marriage.
Wow.
So God is good. He's faithful. But that is what keeps me going.
I love that. I love how you talked about, you knew that this was of God. So you held on to that promise that God, you put me here, so you're not going to fail me. I absolutely love that. Mom, what about you?
Well, I don't know if you guys remember this story. My husband has shared this story over and over and over in church. I remember when, in 1999, when I was pregnant with Rizaya, my husband had to go through a surgery, and it wasn't like a planned surgery. It was like an emergency surgery, and I was 9 months pregnant with Rizaya, and I had Kofi and Kweku. I have two toddlers and a 9 month pregnancy. So I remember I'll go to the hospital and I'll see him on the bed with all this, tubes, you name it, coming through anywhere that was an opening. And in fact, the children, you bring them, then they wouldn't even want to see their dad or go close to him. And I was 9 months pregnant, and I didn't know what to do. I was so devastated. Like, I didn't know what to do. So I remember one of the days I went to visit him, and he told me that, oh, God, Jesus visited him, and that he believes that he's going to be discharged on that day. I looked at him, and you know what I did? I left. And I went to, my parents live in Brampton, so I just drove to Brampton. I just went there to just get away from all that. And I was there when he called me from Ajax, Pickering Hospital, and said, oh, I've been discharged. I was like, what? It was a very tough season for me. And at that time, the only thing I could do was to say, Father, I lift up my eyes to the hills. You are the only one that my help comes from. Because this situation that I'm facing, I cannot go through it without your grace, without your help. So I remember coming home. By the time I got home, he was already home. And I mean, some of our friends brought him home. And the following week, which was a Tuesday, I had to, go to the hospital to deliver Rizaya. And it wasn't like natural birth. I also had to go through C-section. So after all is said and done, I came home. My husband, was recovering. I was recovering. Who is taking care of who? It was a very difficult moment. The only thing I could do was, Father, you are the only one that I look up to. At this time, we don't have any help. You are the only one that we have. And by God's grace, together we went through it. And here we are. To God be the glory.
Praise God. Wow.
To God be the glory.
God is good. I feel like God always comes through. And I can even think of moments in my life. I think the most recent hard time that I can think of, about 2 years ago, I went through the toughest time. I gave up on myself completely. I stopped going to school, and I reached this place where I was so depressed. You know what I mean? I could do nothing but sleep. Like, it was really, really bad. And I remember, I've reached times where it's like I didn't have the strength to look up to God. I didn't have the strength, to pray, I didn't have the strength to do anything. But I remember in those seasons that when I couldn't, I had, the right mentors, the right pastors, the right friends around me. And I think, there's definitely certain times in my life where, where I couldn't, at least I had the right people around me, to help me through that, which is, I think, is very necessary sometimes through certain seasons, of life. And
let me throw this in. Like, sometimes when we go through situations like that, we may not have the strength, just like you said, we may not have the strength to pray or read our Bibles. This is the reason why whenever the doors are open for us, or whenever we are called on to do prayers or to come to prayer meetings, we ought to find ways and means to join.
Yeah.
And bank your prayers.
Yeah.
Because when you bank your prayers, when situations like this comes, you are able to go, like, you go to the bank and just you draw from whatever you've studied, the word that you've you've studied the Rhema word that you have, the prayers that you have. You just go and you withdraw it. And then you just walk in and strengthen yourself in it.
Yeah, that's so true, Mom. I can definitely say, like, I remember, and it was from your counsel, actually, and Dad's counsel just before our marriage. I remember being told, like, you have to pray, you have to pray, you have to pray. And honestly, I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't, like you said, banked those prayers before the marriage and the wedding happened, And like you said, too, sometimes, you go through these moments and you're like, oh, I just got an extra boost of, I don't know where I got it from. I got this extra win.
Yes.
I do. I believe it's somebody who heard that call of God for them to intercede on our behalves. And we don't always know who it is that's interceding on our behalves, or if it's even anyone that we know. It could be a complete stranger across the world. But it's true. Those prayers, they matter. They end up somewhere. So, yeah.
So, I mean, if you're going through a situation, whenever there is a call for prayer,
we must pray.
we must pray. Pray till something happens. Push till something happens.
Yeah.
Bank your prayers. Bank them. Bank them. And withdraw it when you need them.
Yeah.
That being said, I want to say I love Campus Rush and TLC for this because there's always an opportunity to come to church to pray.
That's right.
There's always an opportunity. If it's not, Wednesday Bible study, if it's not Holy Spirit week, there's always that opportunity. I'm grateful to be part of a house where, where even the times where, I could sit at home, but I can't because there's something going on at church. So I'm super grateful. And wherever you are, if you love Campus Rush, just put some fire emojis in the comments. Now, I have another question, and what is something that you would tell, your younger self? Pastor Sabrina, I'll throw this one to you. What is something that you would, tell your younger self?
I think I would tell my younger self that perfection is something to aspire for, to try and reach, but not something that you ever obtain. I think it's important to know that you're never going to be perfect. But that shouldn't stop you from trying to be the best you can be and from trying to continuously improve. But we shouldn't allow our shortfalls or our failures to kind of hold us back or, knock us down. That we should always get up. I know for me that was a big thing. I always wanted to be perfect. I always wanted to be, the best. I wanted to be, the perfect daughter, the perfect, woman, the perfect employee. And while it's good to aspire to be better, every time I felt like I fell short, it kind of like that would ruin me. It would ruin my day. It would hold me back. I couldn't move forward because, I didn't get that A+, or I didn't get. But, we are human. And if we were perfect, we wouldn't need God. So we need God. We aren't perfect. So I think that's what I would, remind my younger self and save myself a lot of heartache.
I love that. I love that. I can definitely relate to that. Mom, what do you think? What is something you would tell your younger self?
Well, young Regina Date, what am I going to tell you?
I would have liked to know young Regina Darte.
Life is not a race. Life is not a race.
That's a good one.
You are not competing against anybody. Cut your coat according to your size. Don't try and be someone. Be you. Feel good in your skin.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what I think I will tell my younger Regina.
Wow. As I'm thinking about this, I feel like I would have loved, hearing this when I was younger, or me telling myself that, because I feel like, growing up, like you say, I feel like as women, maybe as girls, we like to compare ourselves a lot. I feel like it's a thing that we all deal with, and I could definitely see moments in my life where, I would focus on, what someone else has, and it stopped me from running my own race. So I think that's an amazing lesson. I'm gonna steal that one for what I would tell my younger self.
This generation, everyone wants to do, what someone else is doing. Well, but you have a different destiny.
Yeah.
Your destiny and your vision is not the same as the other person. So why are you competing with that person?
Yeah.
Why? And we want everything instant.
Yeah.
We are microwave generation. We don't have the patience to wait. We don't have the patience to cook the food on the stove. Leave it there for it to simmer. We can't. We just want everything instant.
That's true.
We want this. We want it instantly.
Now. Yeah.
Someone is wearing Louis Vuitton red bottoms. I want to get that. Whatever it takes,
Yeah.
I'm going to get that.
Yeah.
Don't cut your coat according to your size.
Yeah.
This is not a life. Is not a race. Life is not a race because my destiny is different from that person's destiny.
Yeah.
And all these five fingers are not equal. Cut your coat according to your size. Enjoy who you are. Feel good in your skin. Like I always say, I say it jokingly, like, Regina Date, I am the original.
Oh, yes.
No one can be me.
That's right.
I am not made in China, not am I made in Italy. God took his time and made me.
Yeah.
I am the original. So if you think you can copy me, you can be like me, my dear, you will die.
That's right.
You frustrate yourself.
Yeah.
Don't feel good in your skin.
Yeah.
Feel good in your skin. Life is not a race.
Yeah.
Life is not a race.
Okay. If you're writing this down, I need you to write that down. Life is not a race, and feel good in your skin. We've had an amazing time talking about life. We're going to move on to the next topic, and we're going to be talking about love. Love, 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 love. Okay? And I'm gonna ask the first question. I'm not qualified to answer this one, so I'm not gonna give my opinion. But do you think that love comes after or before marriage? I can't answer this one. I'm not married.
If we think love comes before marriage or after marriage, I would say if the person that is coming into your life is the perfect will for you, from God for you, and the love is not there, you can develop it. But if the person is not a perfect will of God, then you don't need, you don't,
Before marriage,
before
after marriage, it's not going to make a difference.
It's not going to, yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to find the perfect will of God for your life,
Wow.
Yeah.
right? And even if the person comes and the person is, let me give you this. Let me give you an example. When I met my husband, hey, this man is going to listen to this.
Flow, mommy, be free.
How are you going to take that out? When I met when I met my husband, let me tell you, about 7 other guys were chasing me. Regina Date, yes.
Well done, mommy.
And they had cars. They had, you name it. My husband didn't have a car. And yet, I knew that he had a vision.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, if this man has a vision and these ones only have material things, when this man's vision grows, he will be able to buy 10 times the things that they have.
Yeah.
So to me, I think you need a man with a vision,
Vision. Wow.
I think that's a good
not
point.
not not material things, because you can get the material things, but if the person do not have a vision, after the material things are gone, there is no vision to hang on. Then what happens to your home? What happens to you? So if the person is the perfect will of God for you and you don't have the love, you can develop it. You
I have
can
a
develop
question,
it.
Mom. I'm asking for a friend, maybe, or for myself, but if you said, like you said, there was 7 of them,
Yes.
7 of them. Looking at all of them, how were you able to know that, what, this is my perfect will? Dad had a vision, but does that mean all the other ones didn't have a vision? If there's many people with visions, how do you know this is the vision that I'm meant to, attach myself to?
You know, marriage is a journey. So let's say if I'm going to Toronto and I meet someone who is interested in me, and the person is going to Montreal,
Oh, wow.
then that's not where I'm going.
You're not on the same journey, yeah.
We're not.
Yeah.
I've been delivered, guys.
It won't work. Right? It will not work.
Yeah, I think I agree with Mom. You can't know. I don't believe that you can truly say you've experienced true love until you've walked that journey with a person. So I don't really believe that you do get married being in love or having true love. You haven't experienced life together yet, right? But unlike Mom, I did not have 7 men after me. My story, I was the opposite. There was a ton of girls chasing my husband. And, but I don't think any of them could have handled him ultimately. So, it took me, they wouldn't have known. He was good looking, he was tall, he was handsome, he was cool. But there needed to be something more than just physical attraction. That's often what people think they're falling in love with. I get butterflies in my heart when I see them. Guess what? Butterflies don't help you when the hard times come. They don't. A butterfly cannot hold you up when the time comes. So I agree with Mom, and sometimes we can't see that for ourselves. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I needed to have some outside input, not outside just anybody, but I needed to have, Pastor Ralph, who at the time didn't know me very well, but was able to see, me as my purpose and see my husband and his purpose and be able to say, I can tell these 2 purposes match. I needed to hear something, some sort of affirmation from God. I needed to hear something so that my soul, my spirit felt like, yes, this is God speaking to me. I needed my life group leader at the time who was able to look at me and say, I know you as a person, I know what your values are, where your goals are, what you're good at, and this person seems to fit those things. So, when I remember the day actually, Pastor Ralph sat Ken and I in his office and he asked us so, what are you guys doing? What's the story here? And we were like, we're just friends, we're just doing this. But he was like, no, I see something more than that there. And so when are you setting the date? And I have to be honest with you, at that time, I was like, date? No one was talking about marriage. No one uttered the M word here, But, you start to realize that it's about more than just, physical attraction. Do we have, the same common hobbies. We didn't have common hobbies. He played rugby. I'd never ever watched rugby until I met Ken. Like we didn't have common, but we both knew that we needed to be in church. Yeah. We both knew that we wanted to grow our spiritual walk with God. When we started, we weren't deep into things, but we knew it was something that was a desire in our hearts. So at least we knew that the core and the base of our values. But yeah, I can't say, as much as I might have thought I was in love with him then, I can definitely tell you I love him in a whole new level today. We've been through some stuff. So now I can say, yeah, you know what? On our wedding day, I said through thick and thin, with a little bit of doubt, like, am I really going to be able to do it? But today, I'm like, okay, he actually stuck by me, and I actually stuck by him. So, yeah, I think the answer is after. You got to go through some real experiences first.
As you grow together, the love for each other also grows. So that's how it is.
I love this. So now I think I need to rearrange how I've been looking at things, and we're gonna put the 6 feet, the 6 figures aside, and we're gonna focus on purpose, ladies. I love that we've been talking about love and unconditional love and that kind of thing. But how do you love those around you unconditionally? This could be in the context of marriage, of friendships, of anything at all. How do you love someone unconditionally?
The Bible tells us that God loves us unconditionally. And if we are following Christ, we must follow him when it comes to, loving the people around you. You can't hate them. The Bible says, love your neighbor. Love your neighbor. So you cannot. It doesn't matter what the person does to you. I think it's not easy, but with grace, we are able to, come together and then love one another again.
Yeah, for me, I think I always sort of remind myself that I'm not perfect. I am not perfect. I have many, many faults. I've had to receive forgiveness from others. I've had to ask for forgiveness. So every time I struggle to forgive somebody, because that's unconditional love, right? It's, Dad always says it's giving and forgiving. The giving part is easy as long as you can forgive. It's the forgiving part that's hard, right? When everything is good with someone, you have no problems giving to them, especially us as women. Like it's in our nature. We give. That's what we do. We're nurturers, right? But it's when you can't forgive and let go of someone that we start, wanting to hold back and not give. So for me, I kind of remind myself, like, I've had to ask for forgiveness. And I've really wanted to have that person forgive me. So who am I to not also forgive? And then it's like Mom said, I think about God and I'm like, how many times has he had to forgive me? If I want him to continue to forgive me, and I don't even know what I might do tomorrow that might need another level of forgiveness. So let me remember that when I'm upset at somebody that, for something that they did towards me. Let me remember that I'm not perfect. I'm going to need forgiveness. So I'm best to keep on forgiving so I could also get forgiveness.
I love that. I really, really love that. Quick question. Has there been a time in your life where, it's like, I feel like forgiveness is something that we all know. We hear about it all the time. But I feel like when faced with a certain situation, sometimes it's like, it's actually hard. As much as you've heard, all the sermons about forgiveness, you've been to the encounter, you've done it all. Has there been any time where it's like, it was really, really difficult? And what do you think broke you through? It could be unforgiveness towards, anyone or even yourself. Or I know I've had moments where it was more difficult to forgive myself for certain things.
Well, let me give you an example. I grew up with my grandmother in Ghana. And when I came, because of schooling and all those, stuff that young people do, I wasn't able to go and visit her till I didn't even go. Then I had Kofi. I got married, had Kofi, had Kweku. Then when I had Kweku, that was when they called me from back home and told me that my grandmother was gone to be with the Lord. I really cried. I really, really cried. And at that time, my husband wasn't around. He was in Ghana also burying his dad. So I was, by myself with the two toddlers. Well, not a toddler yet, but babies. It was difficult. I could not go. So what I did was, years later, I had to forgive myself. Like, I had to let go. I had to come to terms with myself that, listen, I am not guilty here. Because of the circumstances, I could not go. So, Regina, forgive yourself. Like, let go. Let go of the situation. So, years later, I was able to go. And when I went to her grave. I cried, laid flowers, and then I brought closure to it.
So it was a process.
It's a process. Forgiving yourself, that's the question you asked, right? It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. You need to come to terms with yourself that, listen, yes, this thing has happened to me, but I'm going to let go. I'm going to forgive myself. I am not guilty here. Because of circumstances, this is what has happened. I have to let go. Assess the situation, see what you can do, then move on. Move on. It's a choice.
Yeah.
You can choose to be in the same spot without you moving or forgiving yourself or not doing anything about it. Or you can also choose to forgive yourself, assess the situation, see what you can do, then you move on. Move on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's the important takeaway there is that forgiveness is a choice. And, as you said, Natasha, I think forgiving yourself is probably the hardest thing. But I think the second hardest thing is probably forgiving somebody who hasn't stopped the thing you need to forgive them for. you know So I know for me, in my case,
Hold on. The person keeps on doing that to you. But do you know that you have a choice of you removing yourself from the person? So the person doesn't get the opportunity to do that same thing to you over and over. You have a choice.
Yeah.
So I will not sit there for you to do that thing over and over and over and over to me. I will move.
Yeah. That's a good
You understand
point.
what I mean?
That's a good point, Mom. In my particular circumstance, it wasn't anybody who was doing something directly to me. I was angry at somebody for how they treated somebody I was close with and kept treating somebody I was close with. But, and you're like, well, they keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And, like, you forgive somebody when they realize they're wrong and have moved on. So if this person can't realize they're wrong and move on, how am I supposed to forgive them? But I think it's still the same process, like you said. You have to make that choice and say, you know what? This person is stuck in their ways and they're not going to change. But me being angry at them is affecting me more than it is them. And this unforgiveness that I'm bearing towards them is having a more negative impact on me than it is them. It's not hurt. It's not helping my loved one. You know, I was angry on behalf of somebody else. It's not helping them either. You know, the only person that's being held back is me. So it's like you said, Mom, it's a choice. You know, it sounds like we're oversimplifying it, but the truth is, it is that simple. Doesn't mean it's easy, but it is that simple. It's you make a choice, you remind yourself that you've made that choice, you keep reminding yourself that you've made that choice, and you don't let the enemy come back and whisper in your ear and bring it back into being, right? Sometimes we're like, oh, we've forgiven, we let this thing go. And then, you know, a few years later, a few days later, a few weeks later, we're crying about the same thing again. You know, it's just remind yourself, oh yeah, I chose to forgive. So we're not talking about it anymore. I chose to let it go. Yeah.
Mom, you touched on something. You mentioned that, you know, if you're in a situation and someone keeps, you know, offending you over and over and over again, you know, you have that option of, you know, removing yourself from that situation. You know, I feel like it might be a little bit different when it comes to, you know, parent-children relationships, you know, and this is something I'm really passionate about because, you know, growing up, I did not have the best relationship with my parents, but, you know, by the grace of God, you know, my parents are my best friends, like absolute best friends, you know, but how would you advise, you know, any of the ladies watching right now, you know, that may not have the best relationship with their parents, and, you know, sometimes it might be rightfully so because they've been hurt, they've been offended, you know, but I feel like it's not as easy to, you know, certain people I can stop talking to, but, you know, I can't stop talking to my dad, I can't stop talking to my mom. How would you both advise, you know, being parents, being mothers, how would you advise us?
Okay, like you said, you only have one parent. You cannot borrow someone's parent to be your parent. So, I mean, if you find yourself in a situation like that, it's for a season. Right? Maybe your parents is not, your mom or dad is not understanding you in that season. So it is your responsibility for you to make them understand you, but not with fighting, not with argument. Sit down and talk. Sit down and talk as adults. You understand? And pour your heart. Let them hear your heart. Let them hear. I know that most parents, we tend not to sit down and talk to our children. We tend not to hear them. They talk, but we don't hear. We are always talking. We don't give them the chance to talk to us. So if you find yourself in a situation like that, make them hear your heart. Make them hear what you have to say, what you have to offer. You understand? Let them listen to you. Have conversation, real conversation, for them to listen to you. That's what I think I'll do. But if it is someone that you think you can remove yourself from, I'm not saying don't be friends or anything, but find ways and means and remove yourself from the situation. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. I think that's actually what I applied, you know, when I reached a point where I was like, you know what, everything I'm saying it's not going anywhere. I remember I literally sat down, I'm like, okay, this is not working. And one thing I had to realize is that, you know, it benefits me if I'm at a good place with my parents. You know, so this is a whole season of my life where I literally, Mom, I just focused on that. I just focused on that. And I went out of my way to make sure I'm like, okay, this is how I feel. This is how my dad might be feeling. This is how my mom may be feeling. You know, how do I get them not to feel that way? And I feel that, you know, when they started seeing that, I was going out of my way to make sure they were honored and felt respected. From there, honestly, everything was easy, you know. And if you're listening to this, I personally struggled with this, and I feel like this is why I'm so passionate about this. I struggled, you know. It was a tough road, but honor your father and mother. It's real, and I feel like I can say it now because I've been through that journey now, and being at this place where my parents are my best friends, I feel like crying. I don't know why, but it's honestly beautiful. So I can definitely relate because I did apply that during that process. During that process.
Yeah, the truth is, I think my perspective on my relationship with my parents and, you know, how I felt they dealt with certain situations, all of that really changes when you become a parent. You know, the truth is that parenting doesn't come with a manual, unfortunately.
No.
And sometimes as parents, we think we're doing what's best for our children, and we are doing it out of love and out of, you know, wanting them to be the best they can be, wanting them to be better than us, knowing where we've gone wrong and not wanting them to do the same thing. Just please don't do the same thing. We don't want you to be hurt. We don't want you. And because of that, we don't always go about it the right way. I'm definitely guilty of that. I mean, I look all the time when I'm, you know, my kids are young. They're 5 and 7 years old. And every time I look at my daughter, especially, I think, I'm like, man, she's going to be a teenager one day. And I don't know if I know how to talk to her or how to make sure that what I'm doing today is a good foundation for that solid relationship tomorrow. I mean, I hope it is. You know, and sometimes I'll check in with mom and I'll ask other moms and be like, am I doing this right? Is this the time to start building a relationship, or am I supposed to be teaching them structure or discipline? Like, how much discipline is too much discipline? How much is not enough? It's hard. It's a hard road to walk. So, yeah, I think you know, on behalf of all the parents, just know that, you know, we don't mean to cause you frustration. Just
That's
know
right.
that, you know, and hopefully that helps you have the patience like you had to find new ways of reaching out to your parents and communicating with them. Because it's true, we don't always hear you, or we don't always understand. We can sometimes misinterpret what that reaction is coming from or what it really means, you know, and we might think, oh, it's because we didn't discipline them enough, and it's because we didn't listen enough, you know. Even being aware that these are things that can happen, I know I'm going to get it wrong. I know I am. And my only prayer is, God, please give my kids the patience to deal with me, because now that I'm a parent, I look at how I dealt with my parents sometimes and how I got angry with my parents sometimes, and now I'm like, ooh. You know, like I told my mom, I remember the first Mother's Day I ever had, I told my mom, you know, I always appreciated you on Mother's Day, and I really didn't know what I was saying. Now that I'm going through with it, I really appreciate you as a mother, you know? You know, until you've gone through those sleepless nights and everything, until you've gone through that first argument with your child where you're like, whoa, what? They have their own thoughts and feelings? You know? Every Mother's Day, it's like a new level, a new revelation of what I put her through. And I'm just like, oh, thank you for sticking through it. So that, I guess that's just, you know, what I would say is just know that they don't know necessarily what they're doing. We like to put on a facade. We're parents, we're supposed to know. But we don't always know. So, you know, just have mercy on us, have patience.
I feel as children sometimes we forget that our parents are human beings. Because we expect them to do everything right,
That's
get
right.
everything right.
That's
but
right.
I think it's a great reminder that our parents are also human beings.
Yeah.
They make mistakes,
That's
and
right.
it's okay that sometimes they may not, you know, get it right. So we're about to get into our last topic, and we're going to be talking about loss. And so now we're in our next segment on loss, and I know we touched about, you know, losing someone, but I also wanted to ask, has there been a time in your life where, you know, you lost something? It could be anything at all, and in that moment, in that time, how did you deal with losing, you know, that thing? It could be yourself, it could be a job, absolutely anything.
Yeah, I know for myself, I can definitely say I went through a period of time when, I lost myself. I lost, you know, what I would describe as my mind. In 2016, I was in a really bad car accident, and I suffered a really bad concussion. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't in control anymore. I lost control of myself. I didn't have control of my emotions. I didn't have control over my actions. I didn't have control over my body. Concussions is something that, we as human beings don't understand because it's a brain injury. And, till this day, only God understands the brain. But to be a mother who couldn't stand the sound of her child's voice, I lost my identity as a mom. To be a wife who couldn't, be there to support my husband emotionally because I didn't have control over my emotions. I couldn't show love. I didn't know how. To be a friend who didn't like being around people. How do you have friends that you don't want to talk to or be around? To be an employee, a hard worker who couldn't work. I was out of work for 3 months permanently. It took me another 3 months until I gradually re-entered into work. So, yeah, I lost control. And it's a tough one. You get to the point where it's like, okay, God, you showed me I don't have control. I can't do this on my own. I can't fix it. I don't know how. The doctors don't know how to fix it. They have theories, but they don't have solutions. And I had to just let go and surrender. Surrender my desire to have control over the situation. I get so upset because, you break a leg and they tell you it's going to take this many months and you have to do this type of exercise. And when you start to see this or feel that, you know it's healed. But with a brain injury, they don't tell you anything. They keep asking you, how do you feel? And you're like, I don't know, how am I supposed to feel? You don't know. So, yeah, it was very much, I had to just surrender and be like, God, you're in control. And I don't get to decide when I recover. I don't get to decide when things get better. You do. And I just have to be ready and willing to put all my faith in you. And I don't think it was until I actually got to that point that my recovery just turned around. Like night and day. Like there was no progress. Doctors, specialists were telling me I was going to take years for recovery. What I had gone through, the extent of my injury, and it was, not even a few months, and it was like you would never have known it was the same person. People who knew me when I went through that time, they say it was like all of a sudden it just got better when things were not getting any better and sometimes even getting worse. All of a sudden at some point, and when I look back at that moment, it really is only when I got to that point where I said, you know what? I let it go. I let it all go. It wasn't until I was able to do that to really say, okay, it's not my control. The more I try and control it, the worse it gets. Yeah. So I hand it over to you, God. And then it was just, I only remember moments of that time.
I love that. We praise God that you're totally recovered.
Absolutely,
it's a
thank
testimony. And you kind of touched on our next question, actually, which is, has there ever been a time where, you were holding on to something that didn't serve your purpose anymore and you had to let go of it? I'll throw this one over to Mom. Has there been a time like that in your life?
I would say friends. It gets to a point whereby you have to let friends that you are holding on to that cannot give you anything, they are dragging you down, but yet you are still holding on to them. It gets to a point whereby you have to let them go.
Those friends
Just
from your old
let
life.
them go. I'm not saying that fight with them or anything or argue or anything. If you think that your friends, the people that you're surrounded with, are not taking you far, cut them off. Close the door gently. How do you do that? Buy them something. You are not telling them that, listen, I'm buying you this so that our friendship, we cut
Parting
the friendship.
gift.
No. But in your head, make a mental note that, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This person is not taking me anywhere. This person is dragging me into things that I'm not supposed to do. I need to close the door gently. Buy the person a gift.
Yeah.
Close that door gently. You are not fighting, but you know what you're doing. Close the door gently. After you finish, you pull away.
Yeah,
So friends.
I have to touch on this.
Get into it.
It's a little bit of a controversial one, but can I just throw it out there? Old boyfriends. What is this thing about wanting to stay friends with your old fling? Like, sometimes it was done, let it go. Like, why do they need to be your friend?
I know.
Why? Just,
That's the reason why I said you have a choice.
Oh, yes.
Whatever happens to you, you have a choice. You have a choice. You can choose to sit in it. You can choose to just close the door gently and walk away.
Yep. Been there, done that, didn't work. Move on.
I love that we're touching on this because we talk a lot about letting go of a guy because he's not the one, but I feel like friendships can be devastating. I feel like the biggest heartbreaks I've had, if I'm being totally honest, is it's been the ones where I was holding on to certain friends that at the end of the day won't even bring me anywhere. But I know in that moment, sometimes maybe because of love and, we want to make everyone happy, we want to hold on to those people. But how, I guess I have two questions here. How do you recognize that, this is the person this is a friend that God has brought in my path, and we're going to run this race together. And once you found that person, because I believe, that God has brought some of those people in my life where I know that, God literally told me, this is your sister, this is your friend for life. But I feel like even in that takes work. We talk about work in terms of marriage, you have to work, but in friendship as well. Like, how would you advise us, Mom, Pastor Sophia, in those types of relationships? So how do you find those people? And then once you found those people, then begin to work and also build on that relationship?
Okay, I'll say that you have to examine that friendship. Is the person adding to your life or subtracting from your life? Is the person taking you somewhere that you want to be? If these are not yes, then my dear, close the door gently.
Yeah,
Gently.
Dad said something once that really stuck with me and helped me with this. He said, God will bring people in your life for 3 reasons. He'll bring them for a reason, a season, or for a lifetime.
That's right.
With every relationship, you've got to look at. Sometimes it's because, we went through this situation together and we really held each other up. And so this means this person is meant to be with me forever.
That's right.
But maybe it was for a reason. And that reason is now gone.
That's right.
And so you thank God for having that person for that reason. But you need to continue with life. And then sometimes it's for a season. I think our parents is a great example of that. Our parents are in our lives for a season to teach us, to bring us up, to pour into our lives. And then at some point, doesn't mean the relationship's cut, don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm saying, but it has to change.
Yeah.
That was a tough one for me, but changing from, my parent who I'm supposed to obey and do what they tell me to do, to becoming an adult who now I can look to my parents for counsel and I honor them, but I have to start making my own decisions. So you got to look at that. And then there's the people who God has placed in your life for a lifetime, like a spouse. You know, listen, your spouse is not meant to be there for a reason or a season. Let's just get that clear,
Lifetime.
right? Which is why, you know, this whole boyfriend thing isn't supposed to really exist, because, you know, a relationship is supposed, but we won't go there, right? A spouse is meant to be there for a lifetime. So make sure you examine those relationships. Is this person somebody that is, you know, really beneficial to me because of this particular reason? Is there maybe a season where I need to learn something from them? I need to grow, I need to, you know? Or is it something where God has placed this person here for my life, to be my life partner, right? To be my life mentor, to be my, you know, there to support me throughout my life. So that one I always go back to when I think about, you know, doesn't mean you didn't value the relationship because you've let it go.
Wow. So basically some friendships have expiry dates.
Yes.
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 I'm kind of thinking about this right now, how, you know, something can be good for you, but once it's expired, the same thing that used to be good for you is no longer good for you. That's crazy. I'm definitely glad that, you know, I've had, you know, you, Mom, over the years. Every time I talk to you, seeing you preach, I take these notes and I've applied this. So I hope you guys are still taking notes, because we're almost wrapping up here, but I'm going to pull on more knowledge just a little bit. And I have one question, and that is, you know, some people believe that, you know, sometimes things have to fall apart so that they can be, you know, better. Is this a thought that you agree with in any sort of context in your life? Sometimes we need to break things down so they can be built better.
I mean, when one door closes, God has a better one for you. Right? If a door closes in front of you, know that there is a better one. All you need to do is just put yourself together, repackage yourself, and watch out for the new door.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that, you know, our biggest teaching moments come out of our failures, our moments when we were weak, our moments when we broke. You know, that's when you learn that you can rely on God. You learn how strong you are. You learn how much grace you have within you, or that you don't have, and where you need to maybe build up a bit more grace, because, you know, this thing took me down much harder than it should have. You know, so if you don't ever fall, or you don't ever have, you know, hardships, then you don't know. I think about that even with, you know, relationships. Like, if you've never gone through a tough time with someone, how do you know that person is really willing to go through the tough times with you? You have to test it. You know? So yeah, I do. I think that you need the hard times. You need things to fall apart. And that's when God shows himself true. You know, that's when God steps up and says, you see, I'm good enough, I'm able, I can pick you back up, and it builds your faith. And then when your faith is built up, then you realize you can really do anything through Christ Jesus, who strengthens you, right? But you've got to go through those testing.
A lot of times I feel like, you know, I've had times in my life where one door closes, and for some reason there's always the devil lying to you, saying that there's never going to be a better door. You know, and I feel like those are the times that have kept me down. But, you know, you're definitely right, where those are the moments you have to realize, you know, you held on to the promise that God has given you, that he's going to do something. And then in that moment, the situation may not have looked at it, but, you know, you had a word, you know. And I love that. We've talked about so much. My head is full of, like, knowledge. I feel like I can put all of this into a book, but this is our last question. And, you know, we've talked about life, love, loss, and so many other things, but, you know, you guys are also women in ministry, women in leadership. So my question is, how do you balance everything from, you know, parenting and, you know, being wives and I'm sure business? How? Because the little that I have. I don't know. How do you balance it all, and how do you lead through it?
Well, for me, I'll say it's by the grace of God. Because all these things that we do, if it is not, or if it wasn't by His grace, we wouldn't be able to do it. Secondly, you plan. Planning is a big thing in my life. If you don't plan, you are planning to fail. So plan, 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 plan. And everything will fall in place.
I love that. So by grace and by planning.
Yes.
And prayer, the word, grace, planning.
I love it.
And I would just add on to that, get yourself a really good support system and mentor. I mean, I ask Mom this question all the time because she does do it all with so much grace. So if there's anybody that can encourage me to keep going, or that can encourage me that I can, do it too, it's by watching someone who's already done it. And by getting advice from somebody who's already done it. She is,
That's right.
I mean, I go to her all the time. I do. She's the one who gives me advice when I'm like, how do you do it? How do you balance it? You always look so calm, cool, and collected on the outside. I also want to look calm, cool, and collected on the outside. So, give me some tips, give me some tricks, give me some nuggets. And also, the truth is you're not ever going to be calm, cool, and collected always. So you need very specific people, very specific people who you can let it out in front of. Where you can be a hot mess and crying and, who can look at you and be like, stop it, pull yourself together. You're a pastor. You need to put your best foot forward, And then that you can wipe up your tears and go back out and do what you gotta do, But you need those people in your life. And so that would be, I guess, my bit of advice is, I thank God every day I was introduced to this wonderful woman of God. And she's my spiritual mother, and I can go to her. She, gives me wisdom, she gives me counseling, she also gives me a shoulder to cry on. She also corrects me when I need to be corrected. And so, ladies, do yourself a favor, a good spiritual mentor, and keep them to a minimum. Sometimes we have too many people, too many mentors. Keep them to a minimum.
And we get confused. When you have too many of them, you get confused.
Too many.
Yes.
Amen. So I hope you guys have been blessed by this. I certainly have been. Mom, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It's been amazing. Pastor Sophia, thank you so much for, leaving your families, leaving absolutely everything else, that you had to do, that you could have been doing, but, you chose to be here to pour into us. So on behalf of the Rush ladies, we appreciate you, we love you, and we want to have you guys, back every single year. If you guys want to have them here every single year for the Pink Table Talk, make sure to put some, pink hearts in the comments, and we'll definitely have them. So that being said, thank you guys for tuning in to the Pink Table Talk, and we'll see you guys tonight at our next session.